Back on the Boulevard, Sunday, May 5th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We are presented by the Believe Network tonight. Thank you for joining us for another episode of UFL Final. Interesting weekend in the UFL. All the favorites held serve for Michigan. It was right down to the wire, getting another big win. They're literally 2 plays away from being 2-4, but hats off to them being 4-2. Only underdog that pulls it off. Shields up, Lemons up, Snakes up, Kelvin Harmon stock up, and we're up in the standings. DC Defenders get a huge win. We used to celebrate Victory Monday. I guess we'll do it on a Sunday night now, but we'll save the best for last. Let's hop right in to UFL Week 6. It was 11 a.m. kickoff in Memphis for the sequel between the Stallions and the Showboats. Adrian Martinez getting the go for the second straight week. And it was Dondria Tillman rocking Case Cookus on the first drive. Cookus shook it off, stayed in, completed a third down here, kept the chains moving. The second president, Jonathan Adams. Now Cookus having more trouble on a 2nd and 8. Ball's out. Birmingham defense does what they do. They create havoc with guys like Jonathan Garvin, and Carlos Davis takes a nap on it. 2nd and 10. For Birmingham here, Ricky Person wrestled down by a host of Showboats. Jordan Ferguson in on that one. They get the ball back. And on 3rd and 7, the first quarter champions of the UFL strike again with 7 of their 8 touchdowns on the year, I think, coming in the first quarter. If they had first quarter spreads, I'd be hammering Memphis every week. Deion Kane trying to answer down the sideline. Nice catch. That Memphis secondary just bad all season. Stallions plow it in with who else? Ricky Person Jr. leading the league in rushing touchdowns. Just been an animal in that backfield. 6-6 now. Jordan Thomas getting some love on the 2-point conversion. You have Cookus here on a 3rd and 2. Getting rocked again. Just writhing in pain. It was hard to watch yet again. After he sat last week, in more pain this week. And Martinez had a clean pocket to do stuff like this. Look at this grab from JT. I mean, come on. He didn't need that second hand. T formation. They're going to pass out of it. Oh, I love it. CJ Marable, after a week off, touchdown Birmingham. Lead extended to 14-6. And they go right back to the big fella for the 2-pointer, Jordan Thomas. I love seeing him getting some reps. It just every other position getting different reps. Birmingham tried a fake punt here. Well, they're not Michigan. Memphis wasn't going to fall for that 2 weeks in a row. TJ Green with a nice stop there. Gave it back. A 16-9 game here. Cookus, again, just zero protection. He fumbles it. Taco Charlton, that time in, just beating the left tackle. Getting enough of Cookus' ankles. Drops the ball and going the other way. Stallions doing what they do best here. Right before half, Martinez, Marlon Williams, touchdown. I mean, this is every week just dagger right before the half. Kill your momentum. 22-9 for the undefeated back-to-back champs, and it was Martinez. I think he wanted to use his legs a little bit less. As you can see, he was airing it out. Threw for almost 400 yards. Here was another huge one to Kevin Austin Jr. Big day for him. 100 yards receiving. 79 yards came from just that one. The route was on, folks. 31-9 late in the third quarter. Not a chance for Memphis. They do kick a field goal. Give it right back to Martinez. And listen, he wanted to prove to some folks he could throw it, but that was actually decent coverage there from Abrams Jr. And this was to cash the over. Ahmed misses it. I'm thinking, oh no, I got over 43. Am I going to push? Well, Troy Williams came in. Props to you if you had his under passing yards on ESPN Bet under 201.5. He had like 40. Layup of the century and another layup for Kenny Robinson, who's probably going to be an all UFL safety. Birmingham punches it in one more time to cash the over. They cover the spread, 39-21. Memphis gets a few garbage time touchdowns at the end. It was not as close as the scoreboard indicated there. It was much worse than that might have indicated. It was Martinez, 368 through the air, 4 scores. 2 of those go to Marlon Williams. Stallions clinch a USFL Conference Championship game bid where they'll likely take on Michigan. 466 offense. And for the Showboats, ugly yet again. 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and a pick. 4th straight week this defense gave up 30-plus points. Again, we said it on Thursday. They can't stop a parked car. Stallions, 39. Showboats, headed to 0-6 Arlington. Showboats, 21. In St. Louis, the Battle Dome was rocking. The Cardinals were playing in Busch Stadium, but that did not stop Cacaw from being the law in St. Louis. AJ seeming to take some sacks on the first drive. Chris Odom does it this week. DC did it last week, taking them some time to settle in, but it doesn't matter when you have a defense as good as Willie Harvey in the Battlehawks unit from Donnie Abraham, knocking over Mark Thompson on the first drive. 4:26 to go, first quarter. McCarron picked off a rare interception from Roby, just the second of the year for AJ and like 170 dropbacks. That was not a fumble. They rule Roby down, although he should not have ran that out of the end zone. 3rd and 9 now, over the middle. Peasy, making it look easy. First down, still scoreless though. 4th and 4. Battlehawks do it better than anybody in the league. They convert 70% of these. Easy money, Steven Mitchell. Across the 40, first down. Now McCarron. Hakeem Butler, chalk. I mean, if you thought Hakeem Butler was going to take a step back after the monster game he had in D.C., you thought wrong. Sorry, TPG. More on that later. Reed Sinnett, Mark Thompson, hit stick, Mike Rose. Every rose has its thorn, and that thorn right in Mark Thompson's side all night. Nice recovery there from the big fella. 6-0 St. Louis. Time winding down. First half, McCarron, Hakeem. Whoop! Yeah, that's not going to end well when you're 6'6". AJ said after the game, I don't know why his ass is trying to jump over people. We're not going to do that again. What we are going to do is throw more balls to Steven Mitchell on the fade. Buzzer beater right before the half. That was a dagger to Houston. 12-0, 2-point pending. Jake Sutherland, screen pass. Easy. 14-0, St. Louis into the break. But Houston marching here into plus territory. Mark Thompson bouncing it outside, breaks 3 tackles along the sideline. They needed more of that from Thompson. He actually got his most carries of the season with 14. Sinnett, 3rd and 20. They get Justin Hall. Beautiful throw there. Houston in business. Early 4th quarter. They've been blanked up to this point, but Sinnett leading them down the field. 4th and 2. Mark Thompson makes a cut. Uh-oh, folks. Dome goes silent. We got a ball game. Houston's defense keeping them in it. Mark Thompson pays it off with a touchdown. They do not get the 2. You can see here, Sinnett struggling in the pocket. No protection. Battlehawks D-line all over him. Peta. 14-6 St. Louis now. 12 minutes to go. Trouble with the snap. Doesn't matter when you got the mobility of A.J. McCarron out there running around like Lamar Jackson. I'm not sure he'd like that comparison. 4th and 1. This was it for Houston's defense. And they stuffed Jacob Sailors. What a game from Chris Odom, former USFL Defensive Player of the Year. Just a monster box score for Odom, the leader of that defense. Houston gonna get it back. Down 8, 10 minutes to play. It's now or never for the Roughnecks. Now or never for C.J. Johnson. Sinnett, ball tipped. Just like that. St. Louis capitalizes on their pass rush. Willie Harvey, Peta, just look at this. I mean, no answer up front for Houston. Battlehawks get it back, and Houston stopping the run. Held St. Louis to just 30 yards rushing. So another chance. 4th and 7. Huge play there from the Battlehawks secondary. Cameron Kelly coming up, laying the lumber on Justin Hall. So no matter what they did, the Roughnecks offense couldn't answer. And if you let the Battlehawks hang in it long enough, they have the best receiver in the UFL. Hakeem Butler, 6 catches, 134 yards, and a pair of scores. That was pretty much 90% of the Battlehawks pass game. Last-ditch effort here for Houston. Not going to work out. 5 straight for the home Hawks. 3-0 in the building. The loss to Michigan seems like a distant memory. It feels like last season at this point. This team may have taken a bit of a step back offensively, but you rebound going into Birmingham and try to play your best game of the season there. For Houston, try to get Mark Thompson going. He did have 45 yards and a touchdown. Chris Odom came up huge in the box score for them, but it just wasn't enough for a team that only got to the red zone once. A.J. McCarron, 255 and 3 scores, did have the pick, but the Battlehawks defense, the story yet again, holding Houston to 134 pass yards, 6 catches, 134, and a pair of scores for Butler. It's Battlehawks 22, Roughnecks 8. In the Sunday's action in Ford Field, Arlington, Michigan, Renegades, gotta get a win. This is the spot they can do it after a tough loss to San Antonio. Well, Danny Etling, 1-0 as a starter, wasn't going to make that easy, and neither was Marcus Sims, who belongs in the NFL. This man does it all. Spectacular catches, route running, speed. He's got it all. Get him in the NFL. And here's Etling finding another receiver, Sayosi Mariner. Touchdown, Panthers. Right off the bat, they lead at 7-0. Perez trying to answer. 7 minutes to go first. Throws it away on 3rd and 9. Now teams trade field goals. It's 10-3. Arlington with it back. They pick up a 3rd down from Tyler Vaughns. In the red zone, Lindsey Scott flips it to Day-Day Hunter. And a nice run from Hunter, who's been RB3 here most of the season, but really emerging. You hate to see the celebration. He goes down, does not return with a leg injury. Here's the 2-pointer, trying to take the lead. Perez back in for Scott and finds Deontay Burnett. Renegades lead it 11-10 after going down early. Right before the half, 3rd and 5. Perez off his back foot. Javonte Payton going up for it. Beautiful snag, redeeming himself from an early drop to catch that one. Payton. As the Renegades are knocking. Across the middle, Sal Cannella finding the end zone. But wait, they call OPI. Kai Nakua thought, hey, hold on. They did use a super challenge. Bob Stoops converts. They reverse it, call it a touchdown. 17-10 Renegades. And right before the half, Michigan does what they do. Heads up slide from Matt Colburn. That gets Jake Bates in just enough range. And the earthquake hits from 60. I mean, you got to be kidding me. If he could just kick outside, where he was 1 for 3. But I'm not here to talk about Jake Bates. I'm here to talk about Danny Etling, who might be emerging as one of the better quarterbacks in the UFL. You see a 3rd and 16 there. 3rd and 11, doesn't get much help from the offensive line in this one. Arlington, 17, Michigan 16 after they settle for 2 more Bates field goals. Renegades get it back. Deontay Burnett comes up big on a 3rd down late in the 3rd quarter. Into the 4th now. End around. Payton looking for his first touchdown of the day, doing it on the ground. At this point, Arlington gonna go up 7. Try the 1 to go up 8. Up the middle. Davion Smith gets in from a yard out. 24-16. Here we go again, Renegades fans. Leading in the 4th. No lead is safe when you're the Arlington Renegades, although they fought hard. St. Amour there with a sack. 24-16. Michigan trailing by 8. When you're on 3rd and 7, you go to Marcus Sims to bail you out. Michigan ended up with a field goal, and they stuff Arlington on a 4th and 1 to get it right back. Perez could not believe it. Michigan D-line, even without Daniel Wise eating up. And here goes Danny the Jet Etling down the sideline. I mean, what a run to put Michigan in the red zone there from the QB. Wes Hill's going to finish it off with a score. Michigan takes the lead. 25-24. They try the 2. It's an important 2. Got to go up 3, but Donald Payne, captain of that defense, coming in big. Here's where things got interesting. 2 minutes to go. Arlington down by 1. They go to Cannella. 3rd down. They go to Burnett. 1:22 to go. New series of downs. Now we just need to run out the clock and kick a field goal. Davion Smith fumbles it. But wait, the center. Jake Glacina falls on it. and saves the day for Arlington. This ball came out, almost a disaster for the 0-5 Renegades, but they lived to play another down. And here's where things got hairy. Michigan has 3 players jump off sides. Perez thinks, free play, going to the end zone. But wait, do you see a flag? I don't. Luis Perez sure doesn't. Perez is out of his mind right now. He could not believe that. I couldn't believe it. Let's take a look at the replay, folks. Arlington was hosed. This has to be called. You have to call that, or else Perez is not going to throw it to the end zone, which set up a 48-yarder for Jonathan Garibay that he was going to hit. But look at the clock. They gave Michigan a free timeout by trying the free play because that offsides wasn't called. And now you got to kick it deep to Marcus Sims. He drops it, which sets the kick coverage team off a beat. 30, 35, 40, across midfield, right into that Jake Bates range already without even having to run a play. So, 1st and 10, Etling keeps it himself, trying to center up Bates. 40 seconds to go. Arlington fans can't believe it. They had a 12 men on the field penalty, and Jake Bates does it again. This team is 4-2. 2 game-winning field goals from Bates. Can you believe the Ford Field magic? They're 2 plays away from being 2-4, but you got to give it to Michigan and Mike Nolan. They just find ways to win. Jake Bates, not 3, not 4, 5 field goals. His team scored 2 touchdowns. He had more points than they did. They're 2-0 with Danny Etling as a starting quarterback. He goes 16-28 for 202. A score, had 55 on the ground, most of them from just that one run. For the Renegades, their 3rd blown 4th quarter lead of the season. Luis Perez, devastated. It's Panthers 28, Renegades 27. Now we save the best for last. San Antonio, DC in the rubber match. After the Brahmas and Chase Garbers took down DC in week 1, now it's Quentin Dormady, who has had success against DC. And let me tell you, if you're a Defenders fan, this one felt good because Dormady cooked against DC last year. It was the only team to beat them in the regular season, and Thula Kelly remembers that, picks him off. DC can't capitalize, though. So they go back to John Lovett, say we're going to take the ball out of Dormady's hands into Lovett's, and that's what it was for most of the day for A.J. Smith. Here's Dormady, across the middle, Justin Smith, stopped at the goal line. They're going to go for it on 4th and goal. Not going to kick the field goal. Huge stop. Niles Scott, Derek Roberson busting through the middle there to prevent a touchdown. 2nd and 6 now. DC going with the RPO. Ty Scott getting the start today. He capitalizes on that one. 2nd quarter now. That's a backwards pass. That's going to get picked up. A.J. Hendy into plus territory. Zaquandre White just not looking to pounce on that. Not sure what was going on for DC early. They kept feeding John Lovett, who just kept trucking people. I mean, Lovett, just one of the best running backs in the NFL, UFL out of Penn State. And Ryan Big Toe Santoso going to convert on a field goal to open up the scoring. Brahmas go up 3-0. Zook saying, why'd I take this over? It's only 3-0 right now. But maybe DC could get a 99-yard drive and start it off with Kelvin Harmon to give Zook some hope. Darius Higgins now on a 2nd and 5. Good to see him after a couple weeks being inactive. Now 3rd and 14. Jordan Tamu's favorite down. What a dime to Chris Rowland. I mean, corner route, beauty. Chris Rowland getting behind the defense. And DC stays good in the red zone with Cam Harris. Punches it in from a couple of yards out. And from 54, Matt McCrane in the 3rd quarter extended the lead to 6. 4 minutes to go 3rd. Dormady sliding backwards, making men miss. Might be an unathletic run, but it got a 1st down. Dormady fighting, giving it to Lovett. John Lovett not going out of bounds easy. Now they get to the goal line, right back to him. What a day from John Lovett. Did it through the air, did it on the ground. San Antonio ties it up at 9, end of the third. They do not get the one-pointer. Tie ball game heading into the fourth. Same situation for San Antonio against Arlington last week. What would they do? No answer for Matt McCrane. Matt McCrane does it outside. Let's see Jake Bates do it outside next week in Audi Field. 12-9 DC. 3rd and 4, right back to Lovett. 23 carries, a $153, set a UFL single game scoring record. But when DC needed to stop there on 3rd and 3, they got it, bringing out Santoso to tie it up from 40 with 7.5 to go. What a game. If you like defense, hey, coming right down to the end. Chris Rowland catches it at the 20 and keeps rolling into the end zone. Chris Rowland, but wait. Dean, come on, Dean. Give it to us. We need the first kick return touchdown in UFL history. The elbow from the 6'6 Santoso is enough to knock the 5'6 Chris Rowland out of bounds. Welcome to the UFL, folks. Jordan Tamu, Clutch Gene, Kelvin Harmon, sideline. What a grab right in the breadbasket. And Harmon hangs on, goes for a ride, comes down with it. Double coverage. San Antonio missing their top 3 corners. DC pass offense takes advantage. 5 minutes to go fourth. They go up 6. Crucial 2-pointer here. And Wyatt Ray beats the left tackle. Cam Harris trying to truck his way in. Does not get there. DC just 2 of 13 on 2-point conversions, meaning they've let 22 points on the board in those PATs this season. But on a 3rd and 8, Kelvin Harmon, yet again, 8 catches, 101 yards and a score. Last-ditch effort from San Antonio. Try the hook and ladder. Going backwards. Latimer. Dormady takes a big shot. DC recovers the fumble. And that's all she wrote from Audi Field. DC gets back on track after suffering their first loss at home in franchise history. It was a simple formula for DC. It was the pass defense. Held Dormady to 79 pass yards. For perspective, he threw for like over 350 against this very DC defense last year when he was part of Orlando. Brahmas had 0 pass plays of 15-plus yards. Got to give it to John Lovett, single-game rush record at 153 on the ground. A nice day from Jordan Williams, but Shields up in Audi, 14,000 strong. Witness, defenders, 18, Brahmas, 12. I would have loved to be at home in Audi Field, but I was there for the St. Louis loss, and we had our Battle of the Brands tour from the Battle Dome. We had a special guest, TPG, joining us on tour. Check it out. I travel the country to witness football's newest rivalry, the XFL versus the USFL. In the XFL corner, the St. Louis Battlehawks. In the USFL corner, the Houston Roughnecks. Welcome to the Battle of the Brands tour. Yeah! Get an outside look at the Dome at America's Center. Opened in 1995. Obviously, first tenant was the Rams. Now home of the Battlehawks. I'm gonna be honest, every time I come to St. Louis, I'm more shocked by this tailgate atmosphere. It doesn't feel like the UFL. It feels like college football out here. Yeah. All right, we got a special guest today.
TPG in the house, let's go.
He's here. Let's go inside, take a look at the Dome.
What's up, guys? TPG here at the Battle Dome. Battlehawks Roughnecks, 2 p.m. kickoff. Matty Fresh was so nice enough to get me a field credential, so now we're here.
All right, we got kickoff here in the Battle Dome. Best seats in the house, up here on press row.
Free waters, can't beat it.
I hope so. All right, halftime update here from the Dome. St. Louis
up 14-0 on the Roughnecks. The question is the Battlehawks defense just this good, or is this a miserable Houston offense? And St. Louis thrives in the 2-minute offense. They go right down the field at the end of the half. Long drive, AJ called the whole thing from start to finish. They punch one in with Steven Mitchell on a fade route. Thought it was a beautiful throw. So we'll have to see. But the under, we gave it out at 47.5, looking pretty promising right now. Knock on wood.
All right, we're here from the Battle Dome, post-game wrap. Battlehawks win their 5th straight, 22-8 over the Houston Roughnecks. This game started really slow, and we kind of thought it would. That's why we were on the under. This was our highest total of the week. And we end up with 30 points. I think it was 48.5. So, yeah, I mean, St. Louis struggled to run the ball. That's something they've been able to do. They kind of had to lean on AJ and the receivers. They were also missing 2 offensive linemen. So that Houston defense was doing everything they could early. It's just offensively for Houston, I don't know where you go here. Nothing's working. They did have a drive with Mark Thompson. I think it was a 12-play, 80-yard drive where he made a really nice cut, got them into the end zone. But then when presented with the opportunity to tie this up, to make it a game, they just couldn't. And credit to the St. Louis defense. I seriously think this is the best defense in the league. I know a lot of you will talk about Birmingham, but St. Louis right now is lights out on that side of the ball. They are not allowing DC, Houston, Memphis, whoever it be the last couple of weeks to do anything. So look for them to really present a challenge to Birmingham's offense. As far as this one, Houston, too many penalties. Just could not sustain drives. Clock management was bad at times, but for St. Louis, kind of a step back. And now you get to kind of go through the peak of the DC win, the valley of this where you come down a little bit and have to reevaluate. And now you got Birmingham coming up next week, which is going to be crazy. A.J. McCarron's return to Alabama.
It's going to be interesting to see how many Alabama fans root for St. Louis or how many of them root against me.
But for now, another one for the XFL. I believe that puts us up in the series, right? 5-4, Henry.
Yep.
Yeah, don't forget that. There's no such thing as football season. Back on the Boulevard, Sunday, May 5th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We are presented by the Believe Network tonight. And watching that back, I just got to say, I did some reflecting on the flight home from St. Louis. Not to get too sentimental here, but only a couple trips left. We're past the midseason point. The Battle of the Branch Tour has been an amazing success. And I want to thank some people, mainly in the communications department for the UFL, who allows us to be able to have that kind of access, to be able to talk to players like AJ in the post game, and to be able to witness that atmosphere and cover games. And, there's not a lot of leagues that would let the little guys like us have that sort of access. And I have to thank the folks at the UFL communications department. Also, of course, want to thank you guys. Without you guys watching the show, there'd be no Springball Boulevard, whether you're joining us on YouTube tonight, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook. We really appreciate you because I had the most fun I think I've ever had in St. Louis, just based on the access that we were able to get and, being on the field after the game, after press conference wraps up, and you just see the players with their families and you're thinking, this is a really sweet league that we get to cover. We don't want to take it for granted. What Zook took for granted this week was his ability to bet spreads but not totals. As I break the desk here. Zook, best bet results from week 6. We were almost there, buddy. And I can't put the blame all on you because I think you had the right idea with the over 42.5 with DC and San Antonio. I did think the rain would maybe hamper things a bit, but really that's not what it was. You can't really blame the rain in this case.
So you're just going to single out the only loser and not talk about the winners?
Well,
is that what I'm getting?
Listen, we get the bad news out of the way first.
Asking for a friend.
We get the bad news out of the way first. That the over 42.5 didn't get home. But, absolutely. Zook, you cashed your best bet. What'd you hit?
-12, ponies.
Yeah.
I said what, 2 touchdown favorite?
Never a doubt. Again, this is the Zook special. He watches the first quarter. This time, first quarter was okay. I got to watch the second quarter. Memphis is the first quarter champions of the UFL.
I took this bet thinking that Corral was going to start,
Didn't matter.
and you text me, "Oh, Martinez is playing," and I
Yeah.
was like, "Even better.
Even better. Right.
I like this a lot more now."
How many more points is he worth for you when you're capping a game?
That's hard to say.
Yeah. But yeah, it didn't matter. A little weird in the first quarter. Birmingham started slow, but yeah, by halftime it was a wrap. I think this was a 18-point deficit, which is right around what they beat Memphis by last time. So just chalk there. You continue to fade the showboats. 3-0 for me this week. Great week. I mean, there's never been a better week in the UFL when I get DC to win and bring home a 3-0 week for me. So I will toot my own horn a little bit. That was a great card. We had DC money line that came through for us in the fourth quarter. Houston and St. Louis under 47.5. Never really a doubt from the beginning. Scoreless first quarter. I think we go into half 14-0. Again, I just knew Houston was going to have to score 20 to hit this over, and they weren't going to because they haven't all season. And then back to Zook's game. Over 43. Birmingham takes the starters out in the second half. Memphis gets Troy Williams in there. A couple of garbage time touchdowns. Gets us. I did sweat that a little bit. Not going to lie. It was like 31-12 in the fourth, and they missed a field goal. But we get home with 60. Yeah, 60 total points.
Yeah, not too bad. And we went 2-2 again. Unders and overs.
Oh, yeah, for the week. 2 overs, 2 unders hit. Also important to point out, XFL and USFL tied up at 5 with 6 to go, plus a championship will make it 7. Yes, the Roughnecks count. That absolutely counts. They are the Houston Gamblers. They're in the USFL conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
That counts. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, 7 more to play in that rivalry, that crossover series. But best week we've had so far, Zook. We got to give it off to us. I think we were 3-1 at one point. We go 4-1.
Yeah, not too bad. I'm always going to be disappointed
close.
with my record, but
We're going to get there.
as a show, we're just shy of 63%.
And we are knocking on the door for an undefeated week. I don't care if it's 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 1-0.
I've
As
made up
long
my
as it's an
mind.
undefeated
I've
week.
made up my mind. I'm not betting
Totals.
on the last game of the week.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say totals.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I try to stay away from, but
Right.
it's the last game of the week always gets me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'm going to stay away from it. So
Yeah, it's tough, too, because you think about cash outs and hedges if you're in a parlay, and that just gets to your head. You overthink, and it's like, they haven't been great games to end the week normally. But, they were close, at least, at the end on Sunday.
yeah,
we
and
had some really good finishes.
I think I'm going to switch apps because the app that I use
Yeah.
doesn't let me buy points or do any of the fancy stuff that your app does. So I think we're moving, and we'll see a little different bets out of me.
Yeah, line value is important. There was a situation in the St. Louis game, I think, depending on what number you got, it got a little weird at the end. Some people had 12.5. Some had 13.5. St. Louis ends up winning by 14. But there was a weird situation at the end where St. Louis actually had to take a safety to make it 22-8. People are thinking, how is it 22-8 and not 22-6? Well, I think everybody still covered. That was on St. Louis.
Right.
Because there was nothing that got to 14, but that got scary close there at the end. Yeah, great week. We are seeing these cards so well. If you're not listening to Springball Boulevard, you are losing money. I promise you. We're seeing everything, and we're taking data from week to week, Zook and I both, and we're putting it down on these games, and it's working out so far as a show. 15-9-1. Not bad. You said 62%?
Yeah, 62.5.
Yeah, and that is, you ask any better, that's solid so far. Now, we don't want to have a hangover from this, so we're going to go full steam ahead into week 7, and there's going to be some value. You think about some of the
Right, and
games.
just remember, when we make plays, we're not just making plays to put them on the show. We're making plays because we actually believe in them.
Betting real money here, folks.
Yeah. If it's on the screen, we're betting it. So
How else do you think we keep the lights on around here? But if you are a sports book and you'd like to sponsor Springball Boulevard, please
we're here.
email us at mattyfreshtunes@gmail.com. I
Or
probably
Z-Hop
shouldn't have gave out my
Productions.
email. Yeah, do that one. Actually, you know what? We got a new email. Email Springball Boulevard, BLVD
That's right. We're moving on up.
I can't give out my email anymore, damn it. All right, that is Best Bets 4-1 as a show. Great week. All right, let's take a look at how our buddy TPG did, the DFS expert. I gotta take a little bit of the blame here for the People's Gambler this weekend because obviously we have a deadline for our show. We go live Thursday night. He has to get the thing in the bin before, some of the inactives and injury reports come out. We really thought Matt Corral was going to see his turn and start. I was a big proponent of Skip Holtz keeping that quarterback carousel spinning. Matt Corral did not take a snap. The People's Gambler had no way to know that, so we're going to call that even at a DNP, and it could have just been Martinez. And if you did take his advice and just start the Birmingham quarterback, you got 42 out of it. So somewhere in between a do not play and a 42. The sit-em, I think Zook has maybe some thoughts on that later, so I'm not going to get into that. But TPG hits the sleeper. I said in 10 weeks, we only need like 2 or 3 of these because they're so hard to hit. You had a guy at 4,100 come in at 14.5 points. That is the kind of thing that can set your lineup apart from more highly owned players. So Sayosi Mariner was a great play from TPG, who hopefully will not have bad luck again and with the inactives and the depth charts coming out late. We'll try to short things up there. But, yeah, that is Best Bets and DFS. And we had TPG's segment. I've been rambling for a while, so now it's time to give Zook some love. 3 things he loved from the UFL weekend.
Center. He should be playing for the Grizzlies.
6'7" on the right side. Martinez floats it for Jordan Thomas. Oh! Only one hand necessary.
Did it need to be, though?
How about Adrian Martinez directing traffic right there? Watch him in the pocket and then get Thomas to turn upfield. The former Mississippi State Bulldog with that big old mitt puts it right up there.
Sit 'em. Hakeem Butler. Hakeem the Dream had a breakout performance last week with 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. Butler has racked up over 18 targets over the past 2 weeks, but he faces a Roughnecks defense who is second best in the league against the pass, only allowing 180.6 yards per game. Coming in at 9,700, Butler is the second highest priced receiver, and I don't think he is worth the money to roster in your lineup this week. Sit Hakeem Butler.
180! What's on?
Karen from a clean pocket and on the run finds Hakeem Butler all the way down to the Houston 31.
Heavy, JJ! 180! What's on?
Karen floats it down the sideline. Jump ball! And Hakeem Butler!
Yeah, need about 5-6 more yards.
Karen will try to get more than that on 1st and 10. Stepping up and throwing deep. He's got Butler open at the 20, leaping high.
We're ending the game on the field. That's the whole mantra of the offense right now.
Off the fake, McCarron on 1st down with some touch, finds Butler. 1st down and more, and ridden out of bounds at the Houston 36 by Markel Roby. But Butler back into the game and back into the...
Has shown with this new life in the UFL that he can move, get him on the edge, make a play.
Here's McCarron on 1st down, again going up top for Butler. Hakeem Butler may have just salted it away for the Battlehawks.
In football, guys, that if your name's Cole and you play center, you're just good. That's just the way that it goes. And this guy, Cole Snyder's playing better this year than I ever even dreamed about playing. But we got to talk about this first and foremost. I asked one of your teammates about you, and he said he doesn't ever wear a shirt, and that was it. What in the hell is happening here with this outfit?
It looks like a whole lot of magic to me, Cotton. I think there's a lot of things going on there. It's pretty special. You know, it's not just for the team. It's not just for us.
Is this an overall? Is this a zip-up overall? It's a 2-piece overall? Like, what are we doing?
Dealer's choice, really. I mean, it could be whatever you want it to be. Use your imagination.
Last time you put a regular shirt on?
What year is it?
2024.
Yeah, I'd say it's been some time.
Hey, your Coach D even wanted me to talk to you about this. He said, have some words with that man. We need to figure out what's going on.
Don't let him lie to you. He likes it. Hey, it's all part of the game. We love it. We're having a good time. We're playing football. Can't beat that.
You are playing football at a high level. Just kind of give us, what's the secret sauce for this offensive line?
Oh, I would say brotherhood for sure. We're a tight-knit unit. a lot of the guys that like to play ball. I mean, you got my guy D here, got a little D here. We got Italian D.
He's trying to get my cameraman's tights. Anybody else want to chime in on the outfit for today? Anything?
He's getting fined for getting interviewed during the game.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's good. I'm costing him a fine, fellas. I'll have to step away.
I'll take that accountability, brother, but I appreciate it. Had a blast and charge on, giddy up.
Tell me Cole Schneider isn't the Jason Kelsey of the UFL. I mean, that is Kelsey reincarnated right there. And good to see the O-line getting some love. I know the kickers got a lot of love early in the season. Now the Hog Mollies up front getting their flowers. It must be nice, man, to be Birmingham just chilling up 27 in the third, hanging out. You know, that looks like a lot of fun. I think I'd like to be part of that.
Yeah, just, what is that, like a $1.30 interview? Just hanging out, getting fined.
I mean, we might as well be sitting there with the boys drinking beers if they had them. You know, like at that point, Birmingham 6-0. I can't believe how relaxed and everybody looks for the Stallions. They never have to sweat a game out. That's going to change, though, in Week 7. We might save a lot of that for Thursday.
I'm getting live text messages from TPG right now. Not too happy with my.
Just buried him. And that's your second favorite thing of the week, that one of our own failed.
I guess if you say like that,
you're a scumbag.
That makes it sound so bad.
Hey,
you know what though?
TPG was great. Camera credit to him on the tour reel. You know, second set of eyeballs for me. He was a great piece of our operation, Zook, and so are you. But, I mean, Springball Boulevard power rankings are, you know, I'm always number one here. But, you know, Zook and TPG, 2, 3, you know, vote on the channel.
Wow.
Your loyalty might be in question here. Folks.
Listen, this show doesn't run without me.
He is the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z.
I will put Piper in front of that microphone before.
If you can't tell, I'm feeling a little cocky tonight because of my best bets. So, and it's you know, I don't get to do Victory Monday anymore, so this is like Victory Sunday. I only got 3 of these this year. All right, let's react to some games, Zook. Birmingham 39, Memphis 21. Really not too much to say about this one. I guess if you're a Memphis Showboats fan, you're ready to pack in the season at this point. You're 1-5. You're probably the worst team in the UFL. You did get a win over Houston in Week 1, but 5 straight losses. Can't protect the quarterback. Can't run the ball. Start strong. You know, they took the ball. They score. Cook shook off a big hit early. They do nothing in the second, third, and fourth quarter. They let Birmingham score 22 in the second. They're down like 31-9 at one point. Adrian Martinez looked like Johnny Unitas with his golden arm. You know, they don't force any turnovers. They commit 3 of their own. It's over for the Showboats. So let's focus on the Stallions. Zook, does your opinion change at all anymore week to week on this team? Or is it just we'll see in the St. Louis game, regardless of what they do in these what seem to be glorified scrimmages now every week against their own conference?
Yeah, my opinion doesn't change much from week to week.
Like, are they doing anything that's really, like, impressing you besides sustaining the success? I guess it's commendable.
The only thing over the last few weeks is that they have struggled a little bit in the beginning of games, but they always seem to get through it and turn it on.
Second quarter is huge for them.
Like, I'm impressed that they go through a little bit of, I don't know, struggles in the beginning and they figure it out. But if you watch Skip, man, it doesn't matter if he's up 80-0. That dude is coaching.
Yeah.
He's going to come over. He's going to tell you, hey, like a big moment for me this weekend was, I can't remember who it was. Somebody was celebrating. He was like, no, you celebrate with our team. That's not who we are. Yeah. Act with class.
Of course.
So he's always pushing. And, I mean, he doesn't. There's a lot of coaches that don't have to be that way. But he's trying to separate them as men from everybody else.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge. That's probably the most impressive thing I take out of this weekend. We all knew they were going to beat the Showboats.
Yeah, they are an incredibly coached team. It is that staff, and when you add in GM Zach Potter and the roster that he's been able to put together, it is impressive, and it's hard not to have your jaw drop at Adrian Martinez lighting up the scoreboard for 368 yards and 4 touchdowns. Again, this is a dismal pass defense that pretty much every quarterback outside of Jarrett Garantano has been able to throw for 200 to 300 yards on. So
let me bounce that question back at you, though. What are your takeaways? Because I don't want to foreshadow too much to the poll, but I know that they took a dip.
You want my take?
I want your take.
My take is do it against St. Louis and San Antonio. I really don't care at this point. Houston and Memphis are punching bags. And you could look at Houston and say, sure, they had an inspired defensive effort against St. Louis. They did actually probably play one of their best games defensively, but Birmingham was super impressive to me in week 1, how they found themselves down 11-3 in that game, and they rallied back and played a great second half. And they also took a huge step forward in the second half against DC, where it really looked like they were going to lose that game, and they found a way to win in a very ugly game. So, yeah, my answer is do it against St. Louis and San Antonio, and then I'll believe. But those are the toughest 2 tests. Now, you're going to have to go to the Alamo Dome. You're going to host St. Louis this week, and they're probably going to be favored the rest of the way. So if you think you're getting, Birmingham as an underdog anywhere, think again. This team is every week covering. Have they not covered yet? I think they're 6-0 against the spread too.
I'm not sure on that.
DC was the only game
that's right.
they didn't cover. Right.
But that was a huge spread.
We were right. We were 8 there. We had the +8. Yeah, they're not going to be an underdog to St. Louis, especially not at home. So, yeah, that's my take. I think.
Well, I want to touch on one other thing because I think it's important. Moving forward, we just saw Martinez have 2 starts in a row. What do we think's happening there? I know I have my own opinions. We've discussed them off air. But I kind of want you to take me through what you're thinking.
I want to admit I was wrong. I was off. I've been pretty adamant that Skip Holtz has this whole thing figured out, even though he's told us that he doesn't. And I trust him now. There were times I was skeptical about what I was hearing in these press conferences, and I asked him the question myself after the DC game. And it just seemed to me like, with him saying that's not a question that I really have to get into in this room. I just get into it in my quarterback room. That kind of told me like that he has a plan, but I don't think he does. I think it really is what he says at this point, which is he's going to go with the guy who looks better in practice. And it's hard for me to sit here and say that Matt Corral has any kind of guaranteed start the rest of the way. I don't know what you do if you're Matt Corral to get over Adrian Martinez right now. And listen, for a guy like Matt Corral, you think back on his career, this is tough. This is a guy who comes into Ole Miss as a 5-star freshman out of California, hotshot quarterback, going to take over in the SEC. He loses a starting job to Jordan Tama. Okay, you're a true freshman. So what? You got to sit behind Jordan Tama. Then Jordan moves on. Matt has a really rough sophomore year. He gets benched for John Rice Plumlee, who was like basically a wide receiver. He ran for like 300 yards against LSU. He couldn't throw the ball. And Matt's sitting there thinking, I got more talent than this guy. I'm having a bad year. He takes over his junior and senior year at Ole Miss, does enough to get himself to the NFL draft. 3rd-round pick gets hurt. It's been a lot of struggles for Matt Corral. Now this is the newest, piece of adversity. If you would ask me at the beginning of the year that Adrian Martinez was going to be QB1 of the Stallions leading the championship run, I would have told you we're insane. Corral's better than Martinez, and it's just not coming to fruition for Matt Corral. The only case I would make is, will he get traded? I don't see them accepting a trade, honestly. I don't care who you give up. Why would Birmingham give anybody Matt Corral at this point? Even if it is like, I don't know,
crazy.
Anybody. Like,
it'd be crazy too.
Who really needs a quarterback? I mean, I guess they could all use Matt Corral. If you drop Matt Corral anywhere else, how many quarterbacks are better than him that are starting right now? Not many. I'd say 3. Probably, AJ, Tamu. It's hard to even think of a third that I wouldn't start over Matt Corral. So
how good could Michigan be with him?
Like a team like that. I think about, honestly, San Antonio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Birmingham would never do that deal. But, AJ Smith's constantly looking at recreating P.J. Walker. Yeah, that's Matt Corral. Absolutely. So,
But every team's owned by the league.
yeah,
They might not really have a choice. How's
Right.
that even work?
This
I
was,
don't even know.
It was kind of BS last year. Perez got traded for a reserve linebacker.
Right.
You know, we saw what was going on. It was more of a mutual release and a pickup than it was a trade. They had to frame it as a trade. And then somehow Arlington got the first pick out of that trade because they ended up with the first pick. They got Lindsey Scott Jr.
Right.
I don't know.
I will say this, though.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with Corral. I think on his sideline presence was on point. I'm sure he wasn't happy he wasn't starting. He thought it was his week too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't want to speak for the guy.
But I would find it hard to believe that he was.
I mean, when you got a sideline reporter coming over to you saying, hey, what's going on in this offense? Can you break it down for me? Oh, man. Could you imagine?
Yeah, because they've done that to actual like QB3s, like Holt Nailers,
Sure,
Renegades. Like he's holding the clipboard.
But what I'm saying
this is Matt Corral we're talking about.
There's a good chance that you thought you were starting this game, and now you're talking to a sideline reporter about what's going on in the job that you're not doing right now.
Right, and really the only criticism early on of Martinez was his fumbles and his inability to be as accurate as Corral. And now those two things aren't anymore. He's not fumbling the ball. In fact, he only carried it 5 times. Which I'm sure if you're Adrian Martinez, you don't want to take 20 carries, right? That's not ideal for you and staying healthy and trying to go into NFL minicamp this summer. So he does it through the air, 368 and 4 touchdowns. And I get it's Memphis, and you know he's thrown for over like 700 yards in those 2 games combined against this terrible secondary. But yeah, it's Martinez next week. It has to be. I think you prove a really good point, Zook, that you've been talking about for the last couple weeks, which is that this is so important if somebody gets hurt. This is what can win them a championship that other teams just don't have. And I guarantee you, all of the 8 starting quarterbacks are hurting right now. And the one that seems to be the healthiest, Adrian Martinez and Matt Corral, because they've been able to shoulder each other's load. You see Jordan out there today getting killed, AJ taking hits. Case Cook is in the grave by now. I don't know how he stands up. He probably wakes up in the morning.
That poor guy.
And needs help to get out of bed. Like, it's just Perez is getting killed. Like, all these quarterbacks are suffering from some really tough defensive lines and not that great O-line play.
Right. And like you're saying, they're splitting snaps too, so they're not playing. They have almost a week off to recover. They have like a bye week every other week-ish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not that way this week.
No.
But they're almost getting a bye week in between.
Yeah.
And you know how good that is for your body.
Yeah, and AJ said it. It makes it easier that they are playing them wire to wire. And even in a game where they're up 30, they're not yanking Martinez and putting Corral in. I think that's super important. And I do. I'm 99% sure, and I've been wrong before, that Adrian Martinez is going to start against St. Louis. But I'm not saying that Matt Corral is not going to play the rest of the year. I absolutely think he will. And I think he'll still have a chance to prove himself to do enough to be a playoff starter. And Stallions fans aren't going to want to hear that. Well, it might be a hard pill to swallow. You can't have recency bias and show me this game against Memphis and tell me that all of a sudden it's automatically Adrian Martinez the rest of the season. Matt Corral would have done the same thing against this secondary. I promise you that. And that's why I'm not mad at TPG for starting him, because it was really more about the matchup than it was the player. Right. So it's Birmingham 39-21. They cover the overhits. Couple of things from the box score. 3 sacks. Maybe Memphis does a little bit better of a job protecting the quarterback, but Cook has still lost 2 fumbles. Let's touch real quick on Cookus, Zook. Did you see the beginning of the game where DiFilippo calls him over on the first drive and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna hate when you watch that. You're gonna cry." He said, "You're gonna cry when you see that."
Yeah.
And I'm seeing their interaction, and nothing against either of them. But I watched that interaction. I don't know if any of you saw that at the beginning of the game after the first drive. It felt like it was like he was like a little league manager talking to a 12-year-old pitcher who just gave up a grand slam. He's talking to him like a child, and I'm like, this is not what you tell your quarterback, not to cry. I get it that he's like DiFilippo has a personality.
Right.
But like you see Skip Holtz on the other sideline, he means business.
Right.
And just seems like times like John DiFilippo's goofing around a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know if it's goofing around. Yeah. I think it's more like I don't know.
Being himself, I guess, really. Yeah, that's all you really can be if you're a coach.
But the problem is, as a player, if you watch like the sideline of some of the stuff that he's saying while the game's going on. Like, he'll have his hands on his head.
Yeah.
Like, oh, why did you do that? Like, if you watch any of that coverage, you're not helping your guy out.
By telling him 5 times, don't cry. You're not going to cry. You're going to cry when you see
You're showing
this.
that you don't have confidence in him.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know. I'm not sure if that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I'm just curious, if you ask this coaching staff, whose fault is it? Cookus or the O-line? What they would say, because we're all saying the O-line.
We are.
Are we wrong? Is Case Cookus just not getting the ball out quick enough? And is it not
And that,
the
and that
O-line's
could
fault?
be, but I don't know. There's a lot of.
It's definitely bad. I think it's a little bit of both.
Right.
Probably, and the fact that they can't run the ball. I mean, here we go again. 15 carries, 59 yards. Stinks. Absolute suck. They can't run. And the Stallions have kind of struggled in the red zone in the last couple of games. They go 3 for 4 on offense. So let's put a bow on that. Stallions are 6-0. They've clinched a championship game bid in the USFL conference, where, believe it or not, we're going to see a conference championship game where a team is over a touchdown favorite for sure, if not more. All right, so on to the Battle Dome. This is the game that I was at with TPG. We had the under 47.5. Listen, with St. Louis, it was what? They had scored 27 against Arlington, 32 against Memphis. They come out 45 against DC. And I'm thinking it just keeps going up and up every week. This is the week where you're going to valley a little bit. And they had some hiccups right out of the gate, for sure. It just felt like they weren't themselves offensively. They couldn't run the ball. They finished this one with only 32 yards rushing. But they're so good at, like, the in-game adjustments. Like, Bruce Gradkowski and AJ scheming up together and talking to Coach Beck at halftime, what are we going to do? They score actually right before half, which I thought was a complete game changer. But listen, when you got a defense that is this good, I mean, week after week, this defense gets better. Willie Harvey set the tone early on by just plowing through Mark Thompson. I mean, you get a guy who's supposed to be a star, who's supposed to be the marquee player of the Houston offense, and you wallop him like that. That sent a message early on to Houston, and really good defense from both sides in this game, and we kind of talked about that in the tour recap. But yeah, St. Louis, not pretty at all. And I think, it's okay though, because we talked about last season how they kind of had this spot against Vegas in the Dome where they almost lost in overtime. This was not that close because you have Hakeem Butler, who's the best wide receiver in the UFL and can beat any corner and just is a mismatch nightmare. But ultimately, like, Chris Odom and the Houston defense, really good game. And I asked C.J. Johnson about that, and he said, he was beat up about his defense because of how tough they fought, and you could see it in Reed Sinet's face in the post-game presser, how he wished he could have done a little bit more to help that defense. Houston had a shot to win this game. It was 14-6. They stopped them on 4th and 1. They get the ball in plus territory. Turn it right back over. Mike Rose, huge hit. Yeah, you're going to look at this box score. You're going to see -5 rushing yards for St. Louis. That's not correct. They had an outlier stat. The punter had to take a -37 on the safety at the end. Anthony Beck didn't want to screw around at the end of the game and give Houston a chance to block a punt. So they took a safety, and they end up with -5 rushing. Realistically, they had 32, which isn't much better, but credit that Houston run defense. Yeah, I have some thoughts on Mark Thompson, Zuck, who came to Twitter, believe last night, maybe 6 or 7 hours after the game. And he had a series of tweets hinting at his retirement. Now, if you know Mark Thompson and you know his Twitter account, you can't believe anything you read on there. He said some things before that have been wildly inaccurate, but I feel like this, was a red flag. He said, 7 years, it's been a great time. Then he put the salute emoji, and then he said that he got to run on the same field as Marshall Faulk, who was his idol growing up. So he's being cryptic about it, but he's hinting at retirement. What we didn't see, and I want to ask you about this, Zook, what we didn't see in press row, I'm hearing that they almost came to blows on the Houston sideline. Did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
What happened? Because I didn't see that.
I don't know exactly what happened,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of screaming and carrying on. And I want to say there's this Fox game, right?
Yeah.
Fox did a great job of getting away from it.
Oh, yeah. It's not a good look.
I mean, I don't know. For me, I want to see what the hell's going on.
Right.
And they didn't talk about it at all. There wasn't a lot going on. They just want to get away from it.
Right. Yeah, I was told that the broadcaster said nothing. They didn't draw any light to it.
Not a thing.
Right.
So you don't really know exactly what's going on, but
Was it just a huddle?
No.
No, it was a couple of
No.
players. Yeah.
I mean, it was, I believe, Thompson just
It was Thompson.
screaming.
Yeah.
And you don't know who he's screaming at because they showed it for a split second.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what is going on over there? And they didn't touch it again. So I don't know. I'm curious to see one of those videos where it's just everything mic'd up and you hear that, like straight that.
Right. Which they'll probably edit it out, but
oh.
Yeah, I would like to think Mark Thompson at this point is extremely frustrated with this season. This is a guy who was on the UFL commercial, the trailer that opened it up, and then they said, this was a trailer that didn't even talk about A.J. McCarron. When they went over St. Louis, they just said, like, caw, like, welcome back to the Dome. When they got to Mark Thompson, and remember, this is Fox we're talking about. This is their guy. They said, they got a running back who won't be stopped, and he's the centerpiece of whatever they said. And here we go. Mark Thompson comes in, knee hurt in camp, and then, just hasn't been able to produce. And I asked CJ after the game, and he said he played well for the most part. That was his quote.
Right. I just know if that coaching staff is putting him in the right position.
Yeah.
I'll attack CJ on this one.
Yeah.
He's not ready to be a head coach, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
The staff too, like, I don't know Eric Price. I've never talked to him, the offensive coordinator, but I just get a little bit of a strange vibe from his energy. He almost whispers the play call in, and some guys are like that. That's okay.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
What I mind is that every time there's a timeout, somebody has to yell, "Get everybody in here now!"
Yeah, it's like Little League, right?
Come on, why don't you have control of your team,
Yeah.
knowing that it's timeout? Everybody needs to get in here. We're gonna talk. Like, you're wasting so much time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Houston,
it's not a good look, and they just don't look prepared.
Houston is like the opposite of Michigan in the sense that there was going to be a team that really struggled moving up to the UFL. Because this is a move up in competition for everybody. And there's one on both sides. It's the Houston Roughnecks and it's the Arlington Renegades, who have not adapted to this new competition whatsoever. Now, you could throw Memphis in there as well. But I feel like Memphis was probably going to be bad even if it was just the USFL this year.
You could say that. You could say that, but remember, Arlington is well coached. They're just losing games. They're doing a lot.
You know what, Zuck? I would push back on that.
Go ahead.
And I love Bob Stoops.
Bring it.
I love Bob Stoops.
TPG may love this after what I did to him tonight.
But I don't see a well-coached team in Arlington at all. I don't know how you could say that with them being 0-6. I love Bob Stoops. He's a legend. He's an absolute legend. But that doesn't mean that he's doing the right things. It just
but all right. So if you would really want to get into it, when I watch an Arlington game, I'm not sitting there at the end of the game going, "What is happening? Why are you making that call?" Like I do with DC. I'll come right out and say it. They
used a super challenge today and they got it. So I'll give you that.
And we're jumping to that game, but at the end of the DC game today, I was like, "What are you doing? You can't coach your running back to not run out of bounds?"
And the timeout, too.
In the most crucial part of the game? Yeah. I don't have those same problems with Arlington.
Yeah, there's definitely coaches that are setting themselves apart. I don't think it's a Bob Stoops problem. I think he's largely the CEO of the Renegades, and I think he allows his assistants to, game plan, and this is a big opportunity for a lot of these assistants. Bob Stoops has nothing left to prove. He's done this at the highest level. He's big game Bob. And, just, I don't know. That's a tight-knit staff over in Arlington. But to kind of put a bow on this one, Anthony Beck is certainly a guy who's not having these problems. He is a rising star in the coaching market. He's going to get college offers in the Power 5 and the Group of 5. He might get an NFL offer or two at this point. He's been so good. His assistants have been great. I think Donnie Abraham should be in the running for coordinator of the year with what he's done with this defense. And Dave Bowler, as your GM, clearly won the draft with what they were able to retool on defense. So,
what do you think? So if Beck were to get an offer, what do you think his offer would be? I'm not saying it's head coach.
Mid-tier college football, something like I'll use Iowa State as an example because his son plays there, but like something like an Iowa State, Big 12, ACC, maybe like American Conference. I don't think it's an NFL offer, but I do.
But not a head coach.
Yeah, no, head coach. I don't think you can make
Really?
Anthony Beck the coordinator because he's not a coordinator, right?
Right.
He never was a coordinator. So it's like it's head coach or nothing.
I guess that's why I ask.
Yeah, he's definitely the kind of guy who's going to make home run hires. I think he knows everybody. Clearly, like he got a star in Bruce Gradkowski. Donnie Abraham was a guy who was kind of in coaching rehab where, Donnie Abraham, people forget, he dipped as low as his high school team that he was coaching was 0-10. Like that is a rock bottom that coaches don't make it back from. He was once in the NFL playing and coaching in the NFL. He ends up 0-10 in a high school team, and now look at him. What a story. Donnie Abraham, and that's credit to Anthony Beck for hiring a guy like that. And you talk about Gino Gradkowski, their offensive line coach, Bruce's brother. Great hire, bringing him in. Special teams, Battlehawk special teams are great. Kyle Kasky doing a great job. So, yeah, coaches matter, and we're seeing that. And I would say that Houston is. See, I don't know who it's going to be, Houston or Memphis as the first one to fire a coordinator. I think it's Memphis because I think DiFilippo has a higher standard, and it's not being met. He is a Super Bowl champion, and he's been on great staffs with great coaches. So I just don't think that he's probably going to be the one to make a change.
Elaborate on that, though, because who actually gets to make that decision?
It's not, well.
Does the head coach actually get to say?
Rod Woodson fired his OC last year.
That was last year, though.
Yeah. I think the coach can fire his assistant, absolutely. Now, who makes the decision on John DiFilippo? Doug Whaley, Russ Brandon, Daryl Johnston, Jim Pop, all those guys. And I'm sure even, like a Danny Garcia, or like if it really gets to that point where it's like we need to replace this person,
right?
Possibly even Dwayne Johnson. It's a call he's got to be in the room for at least.
Right.
So
you think he's going to rock bottom a coach?
I think he should coach.
They should do that.
I think The Rock should coach.
If they
first
fire
coach
him,
gets fired, The Rock is the honorary
If they
coach.
fire somebody, we should see that. That's what you should see.
Yeah.
Train.
It's hey,
train CJ how to get rock bottomed.
Yeah. It's hey, coach.
Right,
you're sitting in the room, coach. What do you think went wrong? Oh, it doesn't matter what you think went wrong.
That's right. Did you smell that you were getting fired? All right, move on.
I don't know what the hell we're talking about, but let's talk about the Renegades here. Man. First to worst, and that's an understatement. Let's just read the box score to you because you're going to be shocked. Arlington, more total yards. More pass yards. More rush yards. More first downs. At least 10 to 15% better on third down. Ran more plays. More average yards a carry. 3 for 3 in the red zone. Win the turnover battle. More sacks, more TFLs. Is there any more stats that you can name? Oh, yeah. Score. Less points. This was your typical Renegades collapse. This is the third time they've done this. They had a chance to win in St. Louis. That would have changed the UFL. Not just the Renegades and Battlehawk season. That game would have changed the UFL. That game was where Arlington fell off and St. Louis gained momentum. So they do that, then they blow another fourth quarter lead to DC. That one was even worse. Again, they won the box score in that game. And now here we go again, blowing a fourth quarter lead.
Timeout. That penalty that wasn't called.
I mean, I was the one tweeting about it. I totally agree. It's nonsense. It's crap. It's a terrible call.
Well, what I'm saying is, let's not sit here and shit on Arlington because they blew another fourth quarter lead. That game could have been easily run out. And
I'm just tired of making excuses for them.
I'm not making an excuse. This is a big one. Yeah. You can't miss that. You really can't.
I know. I was the one who, I made sure after it was cut out of the highlight on YouTube, we went and found it and put it back in. I mean, 3 guys offsides. And that kind of play, there's no justification for because Luis Perez knows what he's getting. It's a free 5, so he throws it away. Or he tries to throw a touchdown because he knows it's a free play. We saw the same thing in the DC game. Jordan got a free play. He lobbed it to the end zone. Kelvin Harmon caught it, got called for OPI. But, I just feel like.
And that's what you're supposed to do.
But what about the kickoff then? Because, you can say, okay, sure. You bounce back, you rebound, you erase that from your memory, you live to the next play, you get a field goal, and then you have a kickoff 60-yard return. I don't know if you can excuse that.
That kickoff shouldn't have happened.
Well,
right? Think about it.
Would have run I think Michigan had one timeout.
That kickoff doesn't happen if that call gets played.
Yeah.
Or
let me
if that play gets called.
If you're not clear about the call we're talking about, this is at the minute 8 mark in the game. We showed it in the highlight. It was a 2nd and 9. Arlington had just fumbled and recovered it on a Davion Smith. He lost it. The center fell on it. They get the 2nd and 9 after the review from that, and blatant offsides. And they didn't have a super challenge at that point. So, I mean, Perez
did they?
lost his
I think they were just out of timeouts.
We haven't heard the Arlington press conference. I hope somebody asked.
I think that's what it is. I think they were out of timeouts.
You can't challenge out of timeouts. So
you want to flip it though. Let's talk about the earthquake.
Yeah.
5 for 5. That guy just doesn't miss.
Yeah.
And when he does,
he's outside.
There's 12 men on the field.
Oh yeah, that too. Okay, see here you go though, right? Now you're speaking my language.
Sure.
Right.
There was mistakes made. I'm not saying there wasn't.
Yeah.
But
but you talk about the coaching, that's coaching, 12 men on the field running a Jane Harris off.
Yeah, but it's the same thing though. We've been talking special teams. Who's coaching special teams? Nobody. They don't actually have their own coordinator.
Not really.
They don't. So is that something that needs to be managed better throughout the entire league?
Yeah, this was one of those blind, look at the box score, tell me which team won. It's Arlington. And if you do that for the whole season, Arlington's 3-3. So.
Right. Well, and I'm more pissed this week because I thought Arlington was going to get their first win. I said it. It was there.
We both did. Yeah.
It was there. Yeah, but you still picked Michigan on the other side.
I did.
I did not.
We got the cover.
So.
But yeah, I just feel like at this point, now they're eliminated, right?
Yeah, they're done.
Or no, actually, technically not because DC won. So. Right, because San Antonio's 4-2. So it's nonsense.
You're talking mathematically,
right? We have to because we're the tiebreaker.
They're 0-6.
Hey, they were 4-6 last year and made the playoffs.
They're not winning 4 in a row.
Yeah, who would they have to beat?
I don't even know, and I don't care.
St. Louis again.
I don't know if they can win a game.
They got to play St. Louis.
And we
DC,
sat here and said they can win 3 to 4 games.
I said 3 in a row. I said they would beat.
I just don't see it.
San Antonio, Michigan, and Memphis.
I don't see it at all.
You don't see them winning next week at home against Memphis? Oh.
And they may. I'm actually going to, when my pick comes up on screen, I'm just going to put a slash. Don't care.
Our game of the week next week.
I don't know, and I don't care.
Week 7. Absolute barn burner.
Chaos.
Showboats, Renegades. Woo! Fired up. Y'all are talking about Stallions and Battlehawks. Who cares? Showboats and Renegades, baby. Sit down on the couch and crack a beer. Maybe get a bottle out for that one. Yeah. Let's talk about Michigan. I think we're disrespecting Michigan. We're talking too much about Arlington. Wow. Mike Nolan finds new ways to win. Another guy with NFL experience, good staff. I thought Marcel Belfay has things figured out with this offense, and Danny Etling's 2-0, and I think he's better than E.J. Perry. And I think that was a mistake to start Perry at the beginning of the season, although he did go out and beat St. Louis.
Yeah, and I was down on Danny too, and I was wrong. I'll say that.
Balling today.
I was wrong.
He got some
played
wheels.
well.
Yeah, he got some wheels on him.
And he hit that one touchdown, tight window.
Right.
Only one way to throw it, and he hits it.
Yeah, this is an SEC quarterback we're talking about. Danny Etling started 2 years at LSU. Did it against SEC defenses. Came in the league. Played a couple years for the Packers. Was a preseason hero. And, yeah, he could play. And I'm curious because they do still have Bryce Perkins behind him, a new signing. Kind of a project, but I think that Bryce Perkins will eventually take over QB2 duties. And he's an interesting guy that you can kind of use like Lindsey Scott and maybe even like a De'Aaron King if you do get in a championship game in the USFL side against Birmingham. So don't count Bryce Perkins out yet. But talking about things that actually happened in the game, yeah, it's Jake Bates. I mean, incredible. He's gone next year. See ya. Like, enjoy him while you get him. I almost wish that at Ford Field they'd get some fans in the end zone so he doesn't have to kick in empty seats. And
right.
Like they had the pyramid at the shirtless pyramid in Protective Stadium.
My concern is that you're still giving up 27 to Arlington.
Yeah. And, I don't know, though, because so did St. Louis. You know what I mean? Like that, even that defense.
No, I get it. It's just
Perez is playing well.
I thought that Michigan defense is where they was at. They didn't really have much of an offense.
Right.
You weren't sure what you were going to get. They were big play only.
Yeah,
right?
This game ended the way I expected in Arlington covering but losing. But it didn't go the way I expected throughout the game. Because what I expected is Michigan was going to gouge them in the run game. And you look at it, Zook, 94 rush yards only. So, like, Arlington's run defense actually played one of their better games of the season.
You know what happened? What did Hills have?
Nothing. Nine carries, 15 yards. They did a great job against him. He did have a 2-yard score.
And he's been a monster.
Etling led the team in rushing basically off that one big run is like half of their rushing total. So
right, and he's been a monster.
Yeah, and Etling threw the ball well. But no, this didn't go. I thought Arlington would really struggle against the run. But you have to remember, Michigan's secondary was the only secondary to give up 2 100-yard receivers on the same team with Smith and Kirkland from San Antonio. And that showed that maybe that secondary is not as good as we thought because they did give up some real big plays today. And, yeah, I thought Chuck Long had it going, with a good play script. And, yeah, special teams was not good for them. Their pass defense was very iffy. Marcus Sims seems to be uncoverable at this point in the season. But hats off to Michigan. They're 4-2, and I'll say it again, 2 plays away from being 2-4. But they're 4-2. And if you're looking for a future right now for a UFL champion, value-wise, not saying they have a chance, but at 11-1, knowing they're going to be there, that's a crazy price.
Right. And remember this. Good teams win ugly.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping on board that's saying they're a good team.
No.
But, yeah, I mean, you can win ugly and still be a good team and grow. So I think that's important to say.
You could make a case that Michigan in week 2 played Birmingham the toughest of anybody. And I would still say it was DC, but DC was gifted some things in that game that Michigan was not. And that was a 1-score game. Birmingham won that game by 7, and it was E.J. Perry inside the 10 with seconds to go with a chance to tie it. So I'm not thinking this is going to be some cakewalk for the Stallions in the USFL title game. This is a damn good ball club. But they're going to lose next week. DC is better than Michigan. Michigan has some holes, and I think they'd be better off playing, as you could see, they'd be better off playing the teams in their conference than crossing over to the XFL side where they didn't look good against San Antonio. They pull this one out, credit that, but they also, I think, they're not good enough to beat DC. So that's that game. And then we had the Defenders. Wow. It's amazing what can happen when you don't spit on people, when you don't false start 6 times, when you don't give up a bullshit fake field goal touchdown to a center. and settle for field goals on 4th and 1s inside the 20. You're better than San Antonio. We figured that out today. Zook will push back on that. Yeah, it's 1-1 in the series. Both home teams won. DC's getting the 2 seed. It's always how it was going to be. San Antonio without Chase Garbers has been a shell of themselves. You can't give the ball to John Lovett 30 times every single week. You got to have a quarterback. And the problem with Quentin Dormady is he's turning the ball over too much. He threw 3 interceptions the week prior against Arlington, and he threw an interception on his first attempt from scrimmage today. So he had all of 67 passing yards. What? Against the worst pass defense in the league. He was not his Orlando Guardian self today, Zook. That's for sure. And neither were the receivers. Credit Greg Williams. I think it was cool that Fox did leave the mics open, and they let A.J. Smith against Greg Williams. I could listen to that all day. I don't need a broadcaster. I think Joel Clatton and Kurt Menefee do a great job, but when A.J. Smith and Greg Williams get back-to-back in that double screen, they get calling against each other, that's football at its finest right there. That's the stuff that we don't get to hear in the NFL. So, yeah, John Lovett is in the NFL next year, no question. Wow, 23 carries, 153 yards. And how about Darius Higgins for DC? 13 carries, 63 yards. Many thought he was RB3 on this team. He leads them in rushing today. Jordan did what Jordan does. He gets 3rd and longs with his legs, with his arm. He took advantage of San Antonio being banged up in the secondary. They came into this game without Phillips, Thompson, and Keys, who were their starting corners. They had to play the reserves. And they had a guy, Gavin Heslop, got hurt during the game, and then they were down to, like, pretty much wide receivers at corner. So Jordan settled in and took advantage of that. He found Chris Rowland on a nice route. Kelvin Harmon 8. Kelvin Harmon is wide receiver 1 on this team, and, you know, he's not Lucky Jackson or Chris Blair, but give him some time, and he might develop into that. I think Kelvin Harmon is the guy here. And, yeah, DC, you know, only 2 penalties. I thought that, you know, that was an improvement. Offensive line played well for the most part. I thought the run game, you know, going over 100 yards, only 3.7 a carry, but you did get over 100 yards rushing. Not something they've really done much at all this year. And, yeah, they got the pick early, and they got another turnover. So, you know, they didn't turn the ball over, DC. That's really important. Zook, what's your rebuttal for DC still being at 4 and San Antonio at 3 when I would flip it?
I just don't think they've done enough. I need to see more. And I say it every goddamn week. That DC coaching staff, I just don't see enough out of them. They look scared. They're not sure what to do.
This is not Greg, right? This is everybody else.
No,
it's Greg.
No, not Greg.
Okay, not Greg.
I think the entire staff has issues. I really do. There's just no confidence.
That's the coach of the year you're talking about.
It was last year.
Yeah, there's some questionable things.
You're talking about last year, right?
I'm going to defend Reggie Barlow.
I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, I'm still going to defend my guy.
Go for it.
I think, yeah, Reggie Barlow does make some boneheaded mistakes at the end in time management. But I'm not going to extend that to what Fred Keiss did today, which is call a 99-yard drive. That was, you know, what you hoped you could hit the over with there.
Yeah.
But no, I think you have different pieces, and now you just got to, you know, copy and paste this scheme into the new pieces, and it's coming along. And I just feel like you and I talk about all the time weird shit that happens in football games,
right?
That doesn't belong, right?
Sure.
And you get some weird variants, and it happened a lot that you were on the receiving end of this as a Seattle fan. DC getting some nonsense, Ben DiNucci fumbling 4 times. Just like pick sixes. You know, you look at a Seattle DC box score, you're like, what the hell happened?
I think
that's what's happening, you know, to teams that are playing DC. That's the DC way. It's always been that way.
I get it.
So,
but I think what my major concern right now with DC is that if it comes down to the wire, is your team going to be prepared to win a football game that's really tight and very important?
I think so.
And I just don't think they are.
I'm going to go back to a point you made last week, and you said they keep coming back to win games. Like 8 of their last wins were comeback wins.
Right.
Today they didn't have to do that, but they did against Arlington.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And they almost did against Birmingham. So I think that, yeah, they are. I think Jordan has that clutch gene in him, and they were tied up heading into the fourth today. And I think this was a complete game from offense, defense, and special teams. I was particularly not impressed with the run defense, but the pass defense was, they held San Antonio an air raid to their lowest passing total ever, even back to the Houston days.
Yeah,
so,
well, we could talk all day about San Antonio and what they did wrong.
Yeah.
They had every opportunity to win this game. And one of the first things you said to me during this game today was like, did A.J. Smith just override Wade? Right?
Yeah, I don't know for sure.
That's 3 on the board.
Yeah.
What have I said for the past 2 years? Points are a premium.
Oh, yeah.
Take them. What are you doing?
Yeah, right. And you notice they did the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Wade was not messing around. He was sending the field goal out. He was punting.
But
on
think
4th
about
and
that.
1.
Think about that. That field goal that they didn't take, and they got nothing out of it.
Yeah.
Now we're 18-15. You might not be doing a pitchy woo-woo at the end of the game.
Right.
You're actually going to try to get into field goal range.
Right.
There was a 4th and 1 they got stopped on that I don't feel they should have.
Yeah.
Horrible play call. There was a lot of things that went wrong for San Antonio. I still think they're the better team, and that's kind of where this originated from.
Right.
Why do I take them at 3 instead of 4? Because I think they're a better team.
Yeah, and they definitely played better against St. Louis, if you want to use that as a common opponent.
I saw what I saw, and I still think, even though they lost to DC today, I still think they're a better team.
I just don't think week 1 matters because St. Louis lost to Michigan that week. Do we really think Michigan's better than St. Louis? So, throw week 1 out the door. But Memphis is another team that won in week 1. Do we care? No.
I know what you're saying. It's like a preseason.
Why is everybody else getting the benefit of the doubt of, we get to erase week 1, but not DC? We have to live with that loss? You know what I mean?
I guess. Maybe I'm biased because I hate him so much.
No, I think San Antonio was better with Chase Garbers. I'm not liking what I see from Dormady.
That's true, but you also make a good point, and I don't like to admit this on screen, but they didn't win in the greatest fashion. They had
never do.
They had a goddamn fake punt.
Yeah.
to a lineman.
Yeah.
There's a lot that went wrong.
Yeah.
And for DC in that game, and they won.
They didn't score a touchdown.
And they lost.
Kicked a bunch of field goals inside the.
It's so bad. So I see the other side of it. I just think if I'm looking at X's and O's, San Antonio is still a better team.
Here's what I'll give you. Injuries. Yeah. San Antonio right now is between a rock and a hard place in the training room. Quarterback 1 out for the year. Came in with RB1, Anthony McFarland. He has not played in 4 or 5 weeks. Now you've got John Lovett to step up. So you've replaced there. Dormady has not been what I thought he was going to be in replacing Chase Garbers, even though he looked promising in his first start. Last 2, 4 picks. So you have 3 offensive linemen on the IR that were day 1 starters. Your kicker went to the IR, out for the year.
Right.
Santoso has stepped up to replace him. But the biggest loss that nobody's talking about is, on the D-line, Delonte Scott has been in and out of the lineup. Don't think he played today.
No.
Top 3 corners. So look, they have 6 on the roster. So they had 3 cornerbacks today, and 1 got hurt in the 4th.
But that's the question. So we're talking about who's better. And
I'll give you that. And San Antonio's brutally beat up.
And everything I always hear out of you is, who's better on a neutral field? All right, so let's go to neutral field. Stack it up. Whose run game's better?
Yeah, it's San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah. It hurts me to say that an air raid offense is out rushing.
Whose
DC.
wide receiver unit is better?
San Antonio. But DC is a better team. You could go position by position.
No, we can't.
It comes together.
And you're always going to say what I ask you. You're always going to say what I know to be true, that San Antonio is a better team.
Drop us a chat. Who's getting the 2 seed? Because we know St. Louis is hosting. Who's getting the 2 seed in the XFL conference? Because we're now in a situation where
this is a good conversation.
It's the only conversation, because we're in a situation where we know it's Birmingham and Michigan. Memphis and Houston are dead. Arlington sucks. So we have DC and San Antonio. That is the playoff race.
Yeah.
Even if St. Louis screws up and loses a game or two down the stretch, they've already beaten everybody in the conference.
Which they may.
So, this is going to be the prime. I mean, they play again. Or no, they don't play. They don't play again, but they'll have, I think DC has, Arlington week 10. Yeah, they have Arlington week 10. Who does San Antonio have week 10?
I don't know.
St. Louis.
Ooh.
It has to be, yeah, because it's a conference game.
Ouchie.
So, things panning out maybe for the Defenders to sneak in. Now,
maybe we'll see.
We are going to learn a lot from DC going to the Dome in week 8.
Yeah, that's a loss.
Interesting schedule for St. Louis coming up. Birmingham, and then I think they'll beat Birmingham. Maybe that's a great spot for DC. Get St. Louis in a little bit of hangover mode, because I could tell you one thing.
Wait, hold on. Who's beating Birmingham?
St. Louis is beating Birmingham.
Okay.
I didn't want to get into this because
I know
I'm just going to get killed.
Well, no,
Let's
it's fine.
talk about it on Thursday.
We will talk about it on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm the only one on the planet right now outside of St. Louis Battlehawk fans that has St. Louis as number 1 in my power poll, and Birmingham is number 2.
I'm not too far behind. My reservation is that St. Louis did have a bad week. Birmingham has had 3 bad weeks and still won. That's my only argument on that.
Who would be favored on a neutral field?
Yeah, here we go. Well, we're going to talk about it on Thursday.
Yeah, no,
that's for damn sure.
I don't want to spoil it because I got a lot to say.
And it's pretty much a neutral field because there's no fans in the Birmingham Stadium.
It's 5-5, folks. This is a big one for XFL and USFL.
We don't talk attendance on this thing.
Hell no.
But it is. It's a neutral field.
Well,
so we're going to find out.
I can guarantee you that you're going to have your attendance record smashed, because A.J. McCarron is a bigger draw than the Birmingham Stallions in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, but
you guys don't want to admit that. You don't want to talk about that, do you? That A.J. McCarron is a bigger draw in your state than the team in your state.
Ouch.
You don't want to talk about it. You don't.
And that may be the case, but
it is the case.
So what's that get them to?
$20K.
You think they get 20? No way.
You'd be surprised.
Not a damn chance.
You'd be surprised, my friend. That is a man who won 3 national championships for that state. He's a living legend there, to the point where he can't go anywhere in that state. He literally can't go anywhere.
This actually intrigues me. We may talk about this on Thursday, but I might want to put a little something on that. You think they're going to fill 20K? Not a chance. We might.
Maybe that was a little steep.
All right. Well, I'm just saying.
It was a little steep.
We'll talk about it. I don't think they hit 15. Maybe we'll do a side bet. I don't have a team anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe we got to do one thing this year.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're in the Birmingham area, Birmingham not far from Tuscaloosa, obviously, and
maybe.
I feel like if you're in the area, and you want to have a nice Saturday afternoon and kind of reminisce a little bit, then it's not just AJ. There's a lot of pieces here.
Your team's 6-0,
yeah,
and you can't pull those kind of numbers.
Yeah, and they want to make excuses that the DC game had to do with the rain. It wasn't raining when that game started.
The only way you pull those kind of numbers is if St. Louis fans are traveling.
Yeah. Or is it St. Louis fans that have to travel, or there's Battlehawk fans in Alabama? Right? Like you always talk about the Dragons and how that's where your loyalty is, and if they came back, you're riding with them. How many Battlehawk fans? Remember, they existed before the Birmingham Stallions in the modern era. Yeah, the Stallions go back to the 80s. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 2020 XFL Battlehawks. Obviously AJ wasn't around for that. So it's interesting. I think that many people in my mentions are saying, I would never root against AJ, but Birmingham's my team. Which then you're just on the fence. You're on the fence, and you need to pick a side because there's no picking both. You got to pick a team here. Yeah, I can tell you right now that lines come out on Tuesday afternoon. Get St. Louis as an underdog. Quick. It's going to get bet up. I'm not sure what it'll open at, but I can guarantee you the best value that you'll get on St. Louis will be taking them at open because it's going to be closer to 0 at kickoff. And it's going to be a very close closing line. I think it'll be a pick at kickoff. But I think you can get maybe 2.5, 3.5, maybe even more. Oh, now I'm getting excited.
All right, let's move on to the poll. I want to make sure the entire audience knows.
Yeah.
This poll has nothing to do with me. I literally picked the icons and the colors in the graphic for what Matt wants. I do not agree with it, but here it is.
Yeah, this one's going to piss some people off. St. Louis, I had him at 1 last week. I don't care where I had him last week. I don't, like Zook asked me today, is the poll going to change? I don't know. I redo it every week. I rank them new. St. Louis is better than Birmingham right now. And I think they'll beat Birmingham, so I'm going to put them at 1. DC split the series with San Antonio. We just talked about that for a half an hour. I think DC is better than San Antonio. Is going to get the 2 seed in the XFL conference. Michigan is interesting because they got a big opportunity next week, and that is going to be in Audi Field. And I've eaten some crow when it comes to Michigan. And I've underrated them, and I said that they were going to get blown out by St. Louis in week 1. It was one of my heaviest plays of the early slate. And this is the first time I've ever picked them on the show. So when they played Arlington, I actually picked them. I don't think I've picked them the whole season. So credit to Michigan. You did lose to San Antonio, so I can't put you at 4. But I am willing to put you at 3, as high as 3 if you beat DC. Again, don't see that happening. And then 6, 7, 8, who cares? But the way I see it, Arlington is probably going to beat Memphis. And then Houston defensively showed me something that, like a game with San Antonio and Houston. Is that over before it starts? That's next week. San Antonio, Houston. Is that a game that you look at, Zuck, and you're like, blow out, chalk it up, it's over? Or is that a weird spot where maybe Houston could do something?
Yeah.
Running out of chances here, huh?
I don't love it.
Which one of these 3 teams ends the season with the worst record? Because Memphis and Houston are going to have to play again.
I like Memphis to have the worst record. Okay. I actually agree with that side of it.
Yeah.
They're just not there. I don't know. Like you said, next week we got what? We got Arlington and Memphis?
Stink. Suck.
I can't even believe I'm saying this. But I like Arlington to win.
I don't blame you.
And you know what? I'm putting nothing on it. Ever.
Well,
stay away.
I can tell you that DC is going to play 2-7 Arlington in week 10, and I'm going to be so scared.
Right.
I'm not going to lie.
They're dangerous.
I know. I watch them every week, and I'm going to be shaking because that is probably what it comes down to because San Antonio is going to go to St. Louis.
Can they win a game? God.
Yeah. No way Bob Stoops goes 0-10. There's no chance.
If he does, he's done.
They didn't.
Right? He's done.
They don't get Houston again, so this might be one of the lone chances here. I was way off when I said 4-6. If they go 4-6, they could actually make the playoffs. They're not mathematically eliminated yet, believe it or not. Maybe they are. I don't know. I saw a graphic that they were, so they probably are. If you ever see an infographic online, that must be true, right? It has to be. All right. Am I missing anything else? Because sometimes I do.
No.
Closing thoughts out of you?
Not tonight. I'm Chris Zook.
I get to do that.
This is Studio Z.
I get to do that. For the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook, I am Matty Fresh. Thank you to all our viewers. I can't say that enough. We rock this Springball Boulevard brand, and we want you to do the same. Go ahead and hit up that description. We got a link in there for some cool Springball Boulevard merch. We plan on releasing more as time goes on. We really appreciate all you guys, and it's been a very successful year so far for the show. We want to keep that rolling into a huge Week 7, where I think we're going to get some eyeballs on the UFL that wouldn't normally be there because of a guy named A.J. McCarron. Well, that's all for us tonight. You always remember, there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you Thursday for a preview.